Welcome back to Everything Whiskey. I'm Callum.
I'm Sam.
And today we're having a look at when and why to add water to whiskey.
Alrighty, so I think there's a lot of reasons to start off with. We're going to go through a few different whiskeys. So we've got a 40%er, we've got a 47%er, and it's an Isla, so super smoky, and then we've got a bourbon that's a 60%, basically 59 point something, to see what water does at different proof levels and also to different types of whiskey. We'll start with the monkey shoulder because that's the 40.
So why would you add water to whiskey?
For me, I like to see occasionally what flavors get brought up to the top.
Exactly, yeah.
So especially I feel like when we get to these two, mostly this one, when you get whiskeys that have high, kind of oily and lots of, phenols and the components that are quite complex, but if you fracture the whiskey with water and drive them all up to the surface, your first one or maybe two sips afterwards will be far more really challenging and strong, and that can be enjoyable, but also it's just you're finding new notes. So if it's a whiskey that is quite oily but you're wanting your stroke, maybe it's at too low of a proof, and you throw in a little, just a couple, 2-3 drops of water, then you can really kind of see a difference. Another reason people will do it, I think, is because especially people who like to review it or really study it and sit with it for a while, people will sit there, they'll pour their first glass of something they've just bought, and they'll sit there for about an hour with it, and they'll take a sip every 10 minutes and see if it's changed. They might even be taking notes. A common thing is for especially reviewers and sommeliers and stuff, they'll drop it down to in the 30s, maybe even lower in the 20s.
That's what I was going to say. It can be used to proof down the whiskey as well.
Because alcohol content will be hiding some notes, like the challenging notes that you get with the density that comes with high alcohol content is both enjoyable, but it also masks other notes. So if you kind of want to find those others, because once you find them, they're always there. You just have to find them first. It's you have to recognize those patterns and stuff. So once you find the notes at a lower proof, you can normally find them back at normal, proof. It's just finding them at the start that's quite challenging.
Try this first.
We'll try this first, the monkey shoulder, and see how it goes.
It's just monkey shoulder, isn't it?
Monkey shoulder.
Very malty.
Lots of malt funk, kind of some salty, sugared kind of raisins, and maybe what's that? Candied nuts, candied almonds. When they're covered in maybe honey or golden syrup and then toasted in the oven. Some of that.
I was going to say just nuts in general.
Yeah.
So that covers that.
Pretty bland for me right now, actually. Maybe we're not these aren't reviews of the whiskeys. We've had a few today, so tasting notes aren't going to be really too viable. It's just to see the changes in them more than to review the actual individual whiskeys. We've reviewed every single one of these individually anyway, if you want to see those. Yeah,
I'll link it in the description if you want to have a look at them all. It's just very flat, and it's flavorful, but it's just flat.
It's just a bit flat, yeah.
The nose is the same notes are there, but it's more lively. You can just it's kind of bouncing into your nose.
It's not much different for me.
Agitating it a little bit.
Maybe a bit warmer. It's definitely more spicy.
Spicy.
There's no more new notes, but it's spicier.
And a little bit spikier.
Yeah, spicy. It's just a bit hotter.
I prefer this with water, to be honest. With how I am at the moment.
But afterwards, it's a bit thinner as well. Because you drive those things up to the top, and then once they're gone, they're gone.
It disappears, yeah.
So,
I still prefer it with water.
I'm gonna add another couple drops and we'll see what it tastes like.
How many did you add before?
3.
3? Yeah, it's kind of killed all the flavours now. It's just very flat.
I'm getting lollies, fruit lollies, but nothing else. There's no burn, there's no density of flavour.
I just get sweetness.
It's a sweetness.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drop this one any lower. We need a proof tester to see where it's at. We need to buy one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop this too much below. Like as a 40%er, you're not gonna have super high kind of oily stuff to push to the surface anyway, most of the time. But I still did think that there was an improvement with a 2 or 3 drops initially.
Yep.
But I think 6 drops is probably where it ends, and I wouldn't add any more.
Alright, so next we're moving on to the Ardbeg Wee Beastie.
Yeah.
So,
now this is a 5-year rendition of Ardbeg. This is their, technically, when you're measuring from peat parts per million, this is their highest peated whiskey they offer. It is quite bright, I've found, but it has quite a high oil.
yeah,
It's got a long
oily,
finish.
yeah.
It seems quite oily, so I wanted to see what water will do to it.
Coming off the heels of the monkey shoulder, especially,
Ooh,
jumps out. There's a heavy peat.
I'm getting cheese in that as well. I'm getting
it's
like deep
blue
cheddar.
cheese.
I'm getting
cheddar,
like deep cheddar.
Just brine.
Nice.
Delicious brine.
Salted not salmon, like a whitefish. I reckon this is like salted, kind of just
There you go,
steamed
think of a
whitefish.
fish.
Now I gotta think of a whitefish. Yeah, steamed like
Yeah.
whitefish.
With a bit of cracked pepper on top.
Yeah, maybe just some light
Like a
herbs,
light, yeah,
a bit
like
of butter.
I actually really
pour
enjoy
more,
it.
sorry. Was meant to grab the water. The percentage on this one is 47%, so it jumped up 7%.
And you
so
can definitely
we'll see.
tell that on taste and nose as well.
Yeah, but I want to see with the alcohol and the oil what change it makes.
So what are you hoping for? It waters it down? or?
No, initially I think we'll get a big punch in the face, and then afterwards I think we'll maybe be able to see some of maybe those
Some floral notes.
the phenols and stuff kind of spread out a bit enough for us to taste some more fruity notes, some lighter notes.
It's not as spiky as I was expecting it. It's quite.
Oh, that's so,
Is it taste?
the first sip is super salty. That's really nice. It's still very simple because of being 5 years old, but it's a lot. It's a lot hotter.
Yeah. I wouldn't say salty. I'd say hot.
Yeah, it's a bit spicy for me. When I say salty, that's what high alcohol content does for me. It adds a saltiness.
Yeah.
Like every time you go from an Abalua and you taste it, and then you have an Abalua Abanad.
It's just
it's like it was raisins. Now it's salted, dense raisins. I don't know. I love the effect of high ABV. So we're at about 6-7 drops now.
The nose is the same.
The nose is the same. To be honest, it doesn't taste that different either from the original.
Yeah, it's back to like where it was. With the original.
So
Maybe
we'll
a
add
bit,
a little bit more.
It's just a bit.
I'm not getting any new notes.
I was expecting floral notes because I've experienced that on the 10.
I think it's a bit
When
too
I'm adding
young to
water.
get those
Yeah.
notes.
On the 10, you get some like really nice floral notes when you add water to it. But this is just making it a bit more simple.
It's holding up quite well. This doesn't seem to be changing too much now.
Mine's getting a little bit. It's wearing off now, like in terms of flavour, compared to like normal. We're probably what are you? We're probably at 42.
I reckon we're much. No, I reckon we're lower than. I reckon we're like 35 at this point because we've got so little whiskey in here now. We're in the low 30s. I reckon.
It just smells the same. It
Smells
consistently.
Smells a little bit less hot, less brine. More, no, maybe, no, not less brine, more like kind of that hospital band-aidy notes. Smells more fishy.
It smells like a tin of tuna.
Yeah, it smells more fishy. That dumbed it down. That kind of tastes like a more space hardy. There's a lot more, the malt kind of shine through and everything else kind of sat back. Yeah, that was alright. I enjoyed that. To be honest, I think I enjoyed it more with 3 drops of water.
Yeah. That little
6
bit of spike
kind of went back to normal, and then 9 and 12.
It, yeah.
9 kind of made it a tiny bit more dull, and 12 killed it.
Alright, so now we're moving on to Raynebury. 60% bourbon, so this will have a lot more heat, a bit more kick,
Yeah.
and it has some fairly intense bourbon flavours in it. So
It's quite a dense whiskey, a lot of cherry.
a lot of
Add
cherry,
bit
yeah.
more lemon.
So obviously, if you've watched us before, you know we love this whiskey. It's one of our favourites, especially from Wild Turkey. Just massive hit of cherry. It's just extreme heat as well. 60% alcohol.
Heaps of wood, but not. I mean, a little bit. It's bitter wood, but
I'd say tannins, just like the
yeah,
wood
the wood
tannins.
tannins. Yeah.
Just so you know, camera died, so that's why the change of camera angle, if it happened.
Yeah, we tried to get it back as how it was originally, but we have no idea. Alrighty, 3 drops to the rare breed. Oh, the cherry. The cherry is even more
I can't even
prominent.
react. That is.
It's salty, sweet, cherry, sherry, like.
That is tasty.
That's really good.
That is so good.
I'd like to see like a 66% rare breed, see what it's like. Blow out your entire palate.
Yeah, you couldn't taste anything for a week after.
That one,
That's
that was
really
good,
nice, yeah.
but it's
three
quite
drops.
oily, so I think afterwards it's not going to be as hot as it seemed.
Yeah, so this will drop down a little bit.
Hopefully, or I don't know. Again, still really nice. It's lower, but it's still so rich. There's so much cherry sweetness.
It's like a 101 cranked up a little bit in flavour.
Cranked up a fair bit, I reckon.
That's really good. I enjoy that.
I like it at that proof as well. That's really nice.
For me, that tastes like a 101, and it also smells like a 101. But the
it's
flavours just
a little bit less black tea and a bit more cherry.
Well, I mean, it's obviously got these notes and flavours.
Well, they're all the same mash bill, if you didn't know that. Wild Turkey, all their run-ins, they
that is
use the exact same mash bill. So we're at, what are we at, 3, 6, 9?
9 now.
We're at 9 drops.
Yeah, for me, it just reignited that fire, and it's a bit more.
It's still really bitey. That definitely made a difference, but not to the extent, not in the direction I was expecting. Like, it did not make it more watery and faint. It's still super rich. It's got that really bitter aftertaste of the barrel impact.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
The wood tannin, stuff like that. It's got the heavy cherry. This
just
might be a little bit more.
It just must be the whiskey. The nose holds up so well throughout.
It's such
all
a
this
dense
water.
whiskey.
It's probably
So
like
that time it leveled out a little bit.
I reckon we're about 48, 49%.
Yeah, we're at, yeah.
It's definitely higher than 40. But
Higher
those
than 40,
flavours are still so prominent. Like the cherry, brown sugar, everything is still there. It's just brought back the tiniest little bit.
I'm gonna have to add a bunch more because.
When are we going to?
Oh, just till it's no good. So this is well proofed down. We're probably at the 40 mark or so, I reckon.
How many drops do you reckon we're here? 20 to 30?
I reckon about 20 something, 22.
And you probably shouldn't do this. This is just for us. We're trying to make it like to a noticeable point.
Yeah, there's gotta be,
you can tell a difference.
When you're recording, you gotta make steps that are like distinguishable from each other. So if we're going 1 drop, it's just kind of like meh, 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 meh.
Yeah.
It's not worth recording. So we're doing it in 3s because it's a bit more of a delta between each other, which makes it easier to notice the difference, which I think is more helpful. What, still smells just like red?
No. It smells like normal wild turkey bourbon.
It does now.
This is a considerable difference from where we first started. This is more like the normal 40% wild
It
turkey.
still tastes so good. It's more 101 now though. It's definitely not normal wild turkey though. It's tasting hot still. That's
the
bizarre.
101.
It's holding up so well to water.
I can't believe this. I mean, it's very oily and it's a high alcohol percentage.
But still, I think the 6 drops.
It's got now 26.
We're at like 28.
It just smells weird. It doesn't smell like it. Like, you can smell the heat, but it also smells very just watery.
It's getting towards the original wild turkey, but still, it's got more heat. The density of flavor is still like so prominent. It's still bitey.
Yeah, but like
I'm getting more herbal notes instead of like the really rich kind of like salted fruits.
I wouldn't go any further. That's
No.
like, I mean, the point of this was kind of pointless, to be honest, because no one's going to buy this and then proof it down to a normal wild turkey.
But I think they should, just for the experience. That's like the point of why people do it. I think people do it. Alrighty, so if you enjoyed this episode, then leave us a like. If you want to see future episodes from us, then maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it if you do. And if you do, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.